Okay, so here I have the cassette deck. This one had problems with the door on it, but it turns out I think this light piece is broken here with the forward and reverse lights. The end of that's broken off. That just sort of clips onto the door part. Something seems to be broken off this. It's certainly missing the bit. There should be some sort of damper arm that comes out, so this just opens slowly rather than jerking out. That's missing, and the piece where it clips on looks like it's broken. The only other problem with it was the little pin that holds the bottom in was bent, so that was bent on the mech. So that does come out quite easily. You've got a little slotted piece here, and if you just turn it to the right position, you can then slide it sideways. You've got to remove the front cover. This bracket that sits somewhere up here. Get that out of the way and a few screws, and then we've actually got the deck completely free in this. So I can finally have a look at this. The belt actually seems to be in place. It doesn't seem to be too loose. When I turn that, it is turning the motor, but yeah, if I put much pressure on it, it does slip. So it may just be a slipping belt in this. I haven't turned a horrible tail like goo at least. So we've got our main flat belt here, runs around both the capstans and comes back around to the motor here. There's a pulley just down in here, and on the top part of the pulley we've got another belt, a square section which comes across to here, which must run our idler, I would say. Yeah, I can see something swinging across back and forwards here. Yeah, there we go, we're turning the supply reel. Doesn't seem to be going across to the take-up reel, but that's probably because something else is in the way, because we're not in play mode, and obviously not even in rewind mode. And there's one more, or at least one more belt down in here. Oh, that might be our take-up. It's moving the idler back and forwards when I rotate it. There seems to be a gear going back to possibly, there's quite a few gears in here, but there is another belt there, and I also had to remove a belt. Once you remove one little screw up in the corner here, you take out this front bit, and there's a belt that went across to the tape counter, which is now sitting down here, still attached to the counter. I left it sitting there. So we've got 4 belts in this unit, including the counter one. The head, after I fiddled with it, our auto reverse heads, that was sitting on a funny angle, but now it's sitting back in the center in parallel with the tape. If you look here, there's a little gear underneath that which flicks it from one direction to the other. When I flick that, the head rotates 180 degrees to play the track on either side, or the stereo tracks on either side. So that's run by some sort of lever. When the deck's something, a plate here will slide across and that'll flick the head across. The rest of it looks to be in pretty good nick. It's got a tiny little erase head there, a lot smaller than the usual ones. Even the playback head's quite small, because the actual bit that moves side to side, there's a die cast bit there that's about the size of a normal head. Our pinch rollers look alright, though that one is very stiff because I can push that up and the spring's not returning it. Though I think it's more the actual, whatever lever it's on here. So this deck is probably pretty seized up. That's interesting. When I push that pinch roller up, that must be the side we're engaged with or something. That's pushing this across, which pushes the head across. So it's all part of the same mechanism. Let's stop doing it now. Oh, because I flicked the head in the other position. Yeah, if I press that up, the head's rotating as well. So we'll have a look at this. Definitely, if I turn that capstan, even though the belt runs across it, it's not rotating the other one. If I turn this other capstan though, we get that capstan to rotate, and there's a gear going there as well. But yeah, the motor, it's turning sort of, it's slipping quite a bit too, so that belt's definitely loose. Yeah, if I turn the motor, it turns the capstan right, but as soon as I put a little bit of finger pressure on there, yeah, it just starts slipping. So that belt's definitely stuffed. So I might apply power to this. I think I've got, that's the erase head has come unplugged. I don't need to worry about that. if I apply power to this from the power unit and the amp unit, we can actually see what's operating in there. And we might even be able, there's a couple of solenoids down here, these green things, green coil of wire, one there and one just below it. And they are probably what flick our auto reverse in. There's a little actuator, I think is that on top. I can see a bit of metal there. Oh, no, that's not it. How do they work? There's some sort of actuator there somewhere. I'm not actually sure how they move. Must be this bit on the end here. Anyway. Plug our unit back into there and being careful don't keep this circuit board where it can't short on anything. And the same with the deck mechanism itself. We definitely don't want anything shorting out. There's a white wire there for some reason, which is a bit annoying. Goes to this little circuit board on the side, and a bunch of wires that go to the switches. But yeah, that should be okay. Yeah, that's got power. Yeah, as soon as I hit tape, we had a little spin of the motor there. Put that back on tuner. And then nothing. Yeah, we haven't got any lights here, so that was probably just getting itself back into some mode. Ooh, I'll press a button. Well, that's more than it was doing before. Of course, the button's fallen off. So at least it was trying to lift the mechanism up. If I push that up, yeah, the belt's slipping now. So it's probably trying to run the gear to run the mechanism, and that's enough to make the, yeah, here we go. Yeah. And it's trying. Had a bit of reel rotation. Let's try. Fast forward works. And then the auto stop's kicked in. Rewind isn't running the reel. And now fast forward isn't doing anything. Yeah, it's very picky. That's annoying. But yeah, this belt's definitely slipping a lot. The mechanism doesn't seem to quite want to click into place. I think as soon as it gets into the position where it should play, and we have that extra pinch roller load on the capstan, that's where it stops working. Now the rewind's trying to go there. The reel certainly doesn't feel very loose. That one spins freely, this one doesn't, but maybe that's because it's in some mode. So you take that idler off. So our reel may be seized up. So it's gone into play mode, but then as soon as it does, it slips. So that's probably all that's wrong with that. I'll disconnect our power again. So yeah, changing the belt's a whole other thing. It looks like we're going to have to remove this circuit board from the back. And of course I lost my screwdriver again. I'm not sure what's on this circuit board. It's got what looks like a couple of voltage regulators or large transistors anyway. They might run the solenoids or something. And quite a large chip on there as well. Yeah, so I've got this big TC9310. It's possible that's some sort of solenoid and motor driver. Looking at what it's connected to. What have we got here? Tape select switches, etc. Which I'm surprised I didn't have to push one of those up to get the deck to work. Maybe that is part of the problem. It could be worth a try actually if we put power back on, just being extra careful not to short anything out. If we hold that switch up there, which should be the tape. Oop, we've lost a spring. Tape. It's still slipping. Okay. Turn that off. Luckily the spring landed on something over here. Only problem is I didn't see where it came from. Anyhow, I'll look at that after. So once we get this circuit board out of the way, I think we're going to have to remove possibly these switches as well. We've just got a lot of wiring in the way here. So how does that board come out? So you've got to unscrew the actual switches on the end. If I could get that out of the way, that goes off to, that's not connected. Might have to cut this cable tie, I think. Get rid of that. Yeah, that's freed things up a little bit, so that actually unplugs from that connector there. Okay, that's helped a bit. We've still got our, there's another wire to that board. That's our motor. Yeah, so our solenoids and our motor are connected to this board, so I reckon that chip there's some sort of driver for those. Now that's given us enough play there, possibly to get this board out. Now what? There's a screw down in, there's a screw under this board. Yeah, we may have to remove that board, I think. Because that screw doesn't look like it fits through the hole. You can undo it. Well, we'll have a look here. Let's see if we can get this board out of the way. That should loosen it up at one end, yep. So you basically just unscrew these micro switches. Oh, it's definitely loose. The other one doesn't feel like it's come loose. There it is. So let's remove that board. Now we get more room. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3 screws, and they're strangely flat blades again. I don't remember ever having flat blades in Sony's before, but the old camera I pulled apart had them, and now this does. So it must have been a bit of an 80s thing there. I think we can leave that on there, yeah. I'm not sure what this other bit here is. Get a magnetic screwdriver to get rid of that. So that's the screw that was under our switches. Now this whole unit should lift up. And of course our belts will come off because our motor's attached to this, so there's our motor. It'll be a bit noisier than it should be, but it's pretty free. Might be okay. And we've got access to our belts here. Just keep an eye on where they go, because one goes up around the capstans like that to the motor pulley. That's our flat belt. Then we've got our little square section here. So I'm not sure if I've got any belts this short anymore. I'm pretty sure I haven't got a square section that short, but I might be lucky. And a flat section, so we need to find belts the same size. We probably should remove this other belt. There's a little tiny belt here. Yeah, that looks like it can, that's running off the main gears. So that actually controls the lifting up and down of the mechanics in the deck. It looks like the capstan will just lift out on that. So we just pull that out. It's got a little gear on the front there. And there's no clip or washer or anything on that. So now we've got this other belt free. So we can have a look at that as well. and just replace that if you've got one. See what we've got in our belt box. Now we need that sort of size, which is close to these 40s here, but of course we're probably a little bit shorter, 75, 85, so that's all. Oh, we're off, here we go. 43. Now missing that size range like usual. Always seem to use the same size belts in just about everything. And even if when you buy packs of 10 of them, they disappear pretty quick. If that belt wasn't really stretched, I've got one that looks to be exactly the same size, which is a 40mm by 1.2. So we might actually get away with that one. Because, you know, if the belt was stretched, you'd normally go a smaller size. But if it's not, that one didn't seem to be slipping, so I think we might get away with that. And now for our, I don't know what sort of size that is. 95 looks maybe a tad big. We've got a 60, and that's quite a bit too small. So again, it looks like this is going to be in a range that I don't have. Got 54, then the next one we've got is 95, which looks like it's probably going to be longer. And yes, 95 is quite a bit longer, so that's somewhere between a 65 and a 95. So it's probably around the 75, 80 mark. Where did that go? 60, 95. I do have some other flat section belts, I think they are a bit wider. Ooh, 90 and 54 of course. So yeah, again, the belts that I need, of course, are all missing, even though I originally had a set of every belt length you could get. Yeah, these are too big anyway. This is a 90 by 0.6 thick by 6 wide. So that's a much wider belt. Not really suitable for this pulley, and again, too long. So I'm actually going to have to get a belt for that. I'll have to measure that one. Normally just fold them in half, squeeze the two ends together like so, and you measure that along a ruler, and from that length you can get the diameter and order it by the diameter. You usually order the next size down at least, depending how stretched it is. This one isn't too bad, but yeah, definitely get at least one size, maybe 2 sizes below that. Our other little belt here, that's a bit smaller than our 40, but I'm not sure I have anything in that size range. That starts at 75, and the next size I have is 13. So this other little belt's probably a 35 or somewhere around there. It's actually not too bad a condition, but I haven't got one, so I can't do much about that. So we'll put our capstan back. If I was actually fixing this, I'd give that a lube. I'd probably check all this grease. It's getting a bit sticky in it, so you'd want to lubricate everything in there. And yeah, put a new flat belt in. For the time being, we'll put that back on the motor. I could give the motor pulley a clean and stuff, but I don't think that'll make much difference. So one of the fun things with these is trying to get all this back together when you've got to basically put this upside down with the belts attached. And sort of stretch them out. I reckon that one will just go onto that pulley, and nearly. So if we hold this, maybe fold it around there, get your long one and stick it over the end of the mechanism there, get the motor on a decent low angle, yes, you can get this belt back around that pulley. Doesn't matter if it's on the top or bottom part for now, just get it around there. And we've got our motor roughly in place, so this has got to go around. You've got to make sure you don't get any twists in it. Around that top of that cap, the first capstan, and the left one on the supply reel side, and then right around this, and I've got a fold in it. So we'll take that twist out of it. Right around this other one, and we've got another twist in it, of course. Yeah, that's it, and our other belt came off, bugger. So while I'm trying to get that on, we've lost our other little belt. Shouldn't matter anyway, because that's on the top of the pulley. So I've actually got that capstan belt back on. Just push it down a bit, make sure it doesn't come off. Give that a rotation. Make sure it doesn't pop off the motor, or then we're sucking our other belt in here. So now that that's in place, get a couple of screws into the mechanism. And this is exactly what you'd have to do if you had a new belt. But we'll just put the old one back in, because I don't know if I'll bother ordering a new belt for this or not. And I don't want to come back to this, you know, months later and wonder where everything went, or have lost any parts or anything. So always best to put the unit back together, unless it's something you're used to working on, like a common unit. If it's just one of these things that you're looking at, that's an old retro unit, you're probably not likely to see another one. So you're not going to remember where everything went. Put this last screw in place. Use some magnetic screwdriver to place it. I guess I should magnetise my flathead, but I never thought to, because you don't see many flathead screws these days. So this other little belt, what we can do, I'm not sure what the easiest way is, but it needs to be poked in there. Get some needle nose pliers and try and grab hold of that. Where are you? Yeah, I can see it, but I can't really see enough to know where it is relative to the pliers. There we go. So we can just hook that over the pulley. The top part of it's for this flat belt, or holding onto it, and then it's simply a matter of clipping it around the other pulley here, which is the real idler pulley. And you can see the amount of, hopefully see the amount of flex in that belt when I push it, so that's definitely loose. It should just run nice and tight, but you can see that it loops out on the side, opposite side to where I'm pushing. Our capstan stayed on, so basically if they were new belts we would have probably fixed this unit. There's something definitely sticky on that pinch roller. That's on like a sliding plate. Oh, these damn circuit boards in the way are really annoying. And I've got the wire cord in there, so I'm going to have to take a screw off. We've got this wire has actually got in under the mechanism. Another thing to watch is that you don't, all your wires are out of the way. Come on, lift the screw up. Not sure if that'll be enough to lift it. Oh yeah, there it is. Get that mongrel out of the way. Sit in there. Very fiddly things to work on. I never particularly liked working on audio gear, because for this reason. If you just had straight electronics, nice and easy to fix quickly. Just a matter of, once you get good at it, you can diagnose it quickly. But mechanical stuff, there's no, even when you know what you're doing, you can't go any quicker than what you can unscrew things and put them back together, so that was always annoying. You've just got to sit there and fiddle with it. So this, so there's not much to it. This pinch roll, I want to push up and down, it's sliding this plate across. And I probably should have looked at that while we had it apart. But there's a bit of grease on the end here. Well, it looks like grease, but yeah, no, it's just goo. Yeah, yuck. Yeah, very sticky. There's a bit where it slides on a couple of plastic pins here. It's actually moving better now that I wiped a bit of that grease off, so that's how bad the grease is. So you need to get in there with a cotton bud and remove all that old grease, and then just re-lubricate that. It'll probably run a lot better just with the grease gone. And on the other side we have a similar setup where the pinch roller slides back and forwards. So if I was going to fix this thing, I would also strip all the grease off there and re-lubricate that. Just about anywhere else you see grease, you should check it, and probably best just to wipe it off in an old mech that hasn't been used for years. That's actually quite good, I think. Maybe a little gooey, but best to just remove any grease on these. Again, like I said, that seems rather stiff. It's got a gear on the back of it, so ideally, I'm not quite sure. I think I'd say you press that little piece there outwards, and you've got to be very careful because these are getting old and brittle probably. Oh no, it's not actually a little piece, it's one of these clips. I think you just spread them slightly, and then you can get the end off with a spring and stuff. Very careful not to lose that. And that doesn't actually come off, so whether it should, and it's just stiff because the grease is dried up. Ugh. Gotta be very careful with these old plastic bits. Yeah, I think we'll just put that back together for now, but that would actually need, when we had the motor and belts out, you would probably want to try and disassemble this real assembly, the gear on the back of it and anything else. I'm not sure if pretty sure it should come off on the front here, but it doesn't want to, and I'm not going to push it at the moment. But there is a white plastic gear down in there, just near where that belt was, and I wouldn't be surprised if that needs re-greasing or oiling. It's very stiff and it doesn't seem to be turning anything else, so that should be running freely, but it's not. But I'd say it might even be this, there's a bushing underneath this piece, so you probably could try a little bit of WD-40 or something, very small amount just on the end of that shaft, see if you could loosen this off. And you probably have to remove this plastic reel from the front and slide the whole unit out and just clean everything. Maybe a bit of WD-40 down the hole just to dissolve any grease in there, and then clean all that out, dry that all up, and put some light oil in there. But yeah, for a unit that probably hasn't been used in a very long time, it's in surprisingly good condition. Yeah, the grease on the back there is actually quite good, but still I would be replacing all that grease in this. And yeah, that's about all I can do with this for the moment. I'll screw those switches back in and put it back together, and I'll have to work out where that spring went, which was something to do with this lever, a pair of levers here. There's no spring on the other one, which doesn't help. So yeah, it may probably went in here somewhere. I'd get probably that plastic bit there. It would have sat in there, something like that maybe. No. Or the other way around probably, that's how it would have worked. Yeah, that's it. At a guess, that would have sat somewhere in there, in that little hole there, maybe. Yeah, it doesn't go right up around there, so no, I'm not sure. I don't think there's any other way we can do it. I'll just sit in there like that. Always a problem when bits go missing. You often have to get the service manual if you've got no idea where it went, or you've got to fiddle around for a while and try and work out where the piece actually sat originally. Surely it goes. Yeah, it is like that, maybe. Yeah, that's probably where it was. Just sitting on those plastic things, something like that. And then when I've pushed it up a bit too far, yeah, it's flicked out. So that's, I reckon it was something like that. Looks like the sort of way they would do it. And I just pushed it a bit too far up, which means this bit of the spring shot round, and of course the whole thing went flying. That looks about right.